What I'm doing on top is I'm playing a D, an E, and a G. Can you see that? And I'm playing them consistently while I'm doing the melody with the B flat, A, and the G, like you said. So that's what I'm doing, but an octave higher, obviously, right? And then you go down to the low C octave. And I spent a good deal of time trying to lift what they were doing here. What I got from it, trying to think along the same lines as their kind of thinking. They like to use a lot of what they call mu majors in Steely Dan, where they add the seconds to a major triad. So if you have a C major triad and you add the D, so I'm hearing them go like that, and then followed by a mu minor, a minor C minor with the D added. Very dissonant, you know? Major, minor, major, major. Okay, so basically both hands in a G major triad root position. But you're going to slide from the minor to the major. And then you come down using what you might call an E major pentatonic, which is B, A, G, A, E. Okay, G, B flat, slide to B.
Okay, so B flat, slide to B, yep.
D,
Yep.
B, A, G, A, E.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a fingering thing. It's tricky. And then we're good to go, and basically I got this idea where there's sort of a rhythm in the left hand that goes. Now you don't have to do that, but if you do, and you can syncopate, and if you can coordinate 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2, then you get this sort of thing. Which you might find tricky at first. Yeah, for the left hand, the rhythm, I'm just doing 8 notes on the 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2. The right hand syncopates against that. Now, we should talk about the chords. Basically, I have a first inversion A minor.
Okay.
Yeah, which then just comes down to the same shape, one full to the G major. So the left hand doing the G bass, and if you didn't syncopate the left hand, it would be just like that, you know? Okay, so that's just an A minor to G. If you can syncopate it, a little bit of practice, you'll find it's not as difficult as you think. Yeah, well, let me help you with this. The bass progression after playing on the G basically goes down to an E, and then followed by a C. So it's almost like a C major triad progression in the bass, right? So after the G, I'll bring it up an octave, goes to the E, goes to the C, and guess what's next? The D.
D.
So what you really have is, you know, it's basically a. That's right. Yeah, they call it well, in this case, a 1, 6, 4, 5. Now, the right hand is pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of using inversions.
Yeah.
So after that intro that you have, what it then does, it inverts down the G chord. It gets to the G and inverts the G chord to root position.
Okay.
So I Now, stay where you are with that right hand. As the bass goes down to E, you're going to grab a D major first inversion. So what we have for perspective, keep the pinky where it is in the right hand and grab the F sharp and the A.
Oh.
And when you do that, the left hand is now on the low E. And that happens simultaneously. So the G inverts to root position, and then when you switch chords to the E bass, you hit this D chord in the right hand. You're going to go back and forth between that F sharp, A, and D and the G root position.
Oh, while you're hitting E in the bass?
That's right, because the G in the right hand with an E bass makes an E minor 7 chord.
Yeah.
Okay, so the right hand is going and then the third chord is when you get down to the low C, and I'll play it an octave higher. And in the right hand, now I call this a pivot chord in the right hand. It's very rock and roll. Think Elton John, you know?
Yeah.
So what we have basically with the C bass, we have in the right hand A, C, F. Hopefully you can see that on your screen.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, and if you leave the C in place and you take, I call that a pivot chord, you know, because it's like it's pivoting over the C, you know. Think of the C as the pivot point, and you just sort of pivoting around it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's with your C bass. Take that same thing and move it up a full step to the D. Now the G chord is pivoting to the D. So you're doing the same thing a full step higher. That's a first inversion G triad.
B, D, B, D, G.
G.
Yeah.
And that then comes down to a D chord, A, D, F sharp.
Sweet.
But this time with a D bass.
Okay.
That's the full progression. I'll give you some perspective. So, starting with the G bass. Now we're going to invert the G. And now we're ready for the next chord. E bass with the D and the G. The next one is the C chord with the pivot chords. And the same with the D. And we're back to the beginning. Okay, so with the rhythm, I'll play the left hand an octave higher for the record.
Okay.
And you're back. And that's 50% of your song right there, Dave.
Oh, great. Great.
Including the intro, make it 60%.
Yeah, okay.